Hello, everyone. I'm here to discuss emergency management, critical elements, strategies, and resources available to you. This is going to be a rather 30,000-foot view of this topic, just dipping our toes in the water and hopefully giving you some ideas and tools to evaluate your agency's preparedness and how you're utilizing GIS technology. I want to begin with discussing the critical elements of emergency management. Preparedness is one, kind of foreseeing potential areas of emergency that your territory is susceptible to, whether that be weather events or crop issues, regardless of the specific issues that your area is prone to. The rest of these are ubiquitous around this topic area. So effective communication is incredibly important. So communicating with your stakeholders, as well as interagency communication and external agency coordination is important, as well as managing your resources. Everyone has limited amounts of resources, so using those resources effectively to provide the best service to the citizenry is important. Lastly, communicating to the community is often the hardest part of emergency management. It's the elephant in the room. So providing areas and strategies for disseminating information to the broadest swath of the population as possible is important. So we're going to talk about some of the resources that are available in the GIS space that would help you improve and become more effective in each of these critical areas. So my experience with emergency management mapping began while I was a GIS person, while I was asked to be involved with an EMA test and training. The first thing that popped up to me was that we were using analog maps, wall maps that had transparencies with dry erase markers to mark where potential roadblocks would be, evacuation routes. And that set off alarm bells in my mind, knowing that there were newer and more resilient and effective ways of communicating that information. So the hope is with this talk is to kind of move us away from those analog techniques and show you some of the options that are available to you now. So moving towards digital mapping, first things that we need to do are identify your agency's priorities and needs. Every agency will have different emphases on those points, and you're going to know those specific priorities and needs better than an outside consultant. So understanding where you want to focus your attention is going to help provide some direction. We're going to talk about some of the solutions that Esri offers and some of the benefits those solutions provide. Then reviewing your agency's GIS environment is important. If you have a GIS environment, that is also important, recognizing if you need to set up a new system or new infrastructure, particularly the ArcGIS Online, which is very easy to kind of take out of the box and get rolling. And it provides a web-based, cloud-based infrastructure, which makes it more resilient to local IT attacks or a local server failure. However, if you have particular requirements for storing data locally, then the Esri Enterprise environment is a perfect situation or a perfect solution for you. The Arc Online and Enterprise environments have a lot of similarities and overlap in their capabilities. So what I'll be talking about today focuses more on the ArcGIS Online elements, because that's going to be the easier lift to kind of bring a particular EMA agency from no GIS to a effective GIS environment. The next thing is to collect your data. There are a lot of open and protected data sets that are available to you. Open meaning they're available to the public at large, and protected meaning that if you are a state or a verified local entity, you can go through the proper application process to gain access to those protected data sets, which is great. If the data exists, then just filling out the application or searching the resources available to you for that data is a great time saver and saves money as well. Of course, because every agency is going to have their own needs, there will be certain elements, certain data types that will need to be created. And there are different ways that we can go about that. Local GIS offices, maybe a county GIS level or municipal GIS office, may be available as a resource for building some of this data. Or, we at CloudPoint can also help create those data sets that are needed. The most important thing is to identify what data is necessary. And I'll walk you through some of the solution, or one of the advantages of the Esri solutions packages is they have these data sets kind of laid out already to kind of provide you a guidance or tool to show what data may be useful to you. And lastly, building and testing the maps and apps, becoming familiar with them is important, because that's really from my experience, the biggest hurdle to get over is there's a certain amount of people are comfortable with those analog techniques, those analog maps, and the unknowns are the dissuaders in moving towards a digital mapping system. So once you have the data that you need and you have the maps built, then playing around with those maps, testing them, familiarizing yourself with them allows you to gain confidence in this new system, and will kind of open your eyes to the benefits that are available to you. So today we're just going to talk about one of these solutions, particularly the emergency management operations solution offered by Esri. There are a plethora of solutions, and I just have a few highlighted here within the EMA, police, fire, and the community, just kind of roughly separated. There's a lot of overlap here that, a community solution might be useful for a different agency. So we have an adopt a hydrant solution, which kind of allows the community to be involved with hydrant maintenance, particularly in snow events, for the community to kind of volunteer efforts to clear snow around a hydrant to make it available in case of an emergency, therefore kind of reducing the necessary manpower that it would take for a more centralized effort. So we're all about communication and making those lines of communication as transparent as possible, and involving the community and with as many benefits as possible within this space. So feel free, I'll kind of show you later in this presentation some of the other solutions, but if any of these solution titles are of interest to you, I encourage you to go to this URL at the top and look for that particular solution, click on it, and it will have a lot more information about that particular solution and what it is designed for. The other thing I want to highlight is the HIFLD, or the Homeland Infrastructure Foundation level data set that's available. This is an open portal that leverages Esri's portal website template to allow a more categorized availability of commonly useful data sets for emergency management and other requirements. There are two sides to the Highfeld website. One is publicly available data sets and also a protected data set level. Again, if you believe that you have the need and the credentials to access those protected data sets, there's a request process that you can go through. This is an invaluable resource for emergency management because it's kind of a warehouse or a clearinghouse for data that is commonly needed, and this saves time and money. If the data is there and it's available, it's going to make building these data sets and these maps a lot faster and easier. So let's talk about the particular solution that I'm going to discuss with you today. The Emergency Management Operations Solution is a solution that was created and made available by Esri. And like a lot of these solutions that Esri puts out there, it's the outgrowth of common asks or common requests and a survey by Esri on usefulness of that they've seen with their data sets and their software. So what they'll do is they will recognize commonalities within a certain sector and then package or pre-package a set of data sets or templates, web maps, web apps, hub sites that are configured for a particular use. So this emergency management operations solution that we'll be digging into today provides the user the ability to identify potential threats and define the area that is affected, and then quickly determine the impact of that event or threat on the population of a particular area, the facilities needed to respond, and the infrastructure. So having these data sets and this map prepared before the event is absolutely crucial to the success of this. Setting this up after an event makes this this particular solution a lot less useful. So what you'll do, you'll go to the Esri website, and if you have ArcGIS Online login, then these solutions are included. They're available to you. All you'll need to do is go to the solutions part of the website and click on the particular solution that interests you, and you'll see a pop-up like this where you'll have the option to deploy it right away or review it through the overview section to kind of understand if the solution is exactly what fits the needs of your particular agency or your priority. So moving on here, I have deployed this solution, and right away, the solution itself in your ArcGIS Online contents area, it automatically unpacks all of these features here. We have various feature layers available to you. We have a hub site application, which we'll discuss a bit later. Several web mapping applications that are already built, as well as some instant apps and web maps. So all of this happens with a click of a button, which is amazing. The publicly available weather information or data sets that stream in real time are already pre-configured in this solution. So you don't have to worry about going out and finding those live data sets. So they make it as easy as possible. Additionally, you're able to take that solution, and if you're more comfortable with working within ArcGIS Pro rather than doing all of the work in ArcGIS Online or like the enterprise area, you're able to deploy an ArcGIS Pro package or project, and then you can see within the geodatabase the feature classes that are already configured and loaded within that geodatabase. These are a perfect example of kind of the guidance for Esri identified useful layers or useful data for you to either go to Highfeld or other state and local resources that may be available to you to collect that data and then load it into this map, or work with a local agency or CloudPoint to help you build some of these data sets to provide the maximal use of this solution. So here we have a US national grid, search grids, ops environments, and location checks. Road closures are options, so that certain data sets will not need to be populated beforehand, although you can have some data prepared if you have a planned road closure area or evacuation route. You can do some of that pre-planning before an event, and others, this solution allows for real-time mapping for a road closure if there's something that needs to be done that is different from a pre-planned environment. Additionally, police and fire stations, this is a point layer. So if you have that data set available to you, there are easy ways to load that data that you currently have into this solution. So let's just take a look at some of those web applications that happen or that are loaded at a click of a button whenever you deploy the solution. So all I've done here is I've deployed the solution and I haven't loaded any additional data into the solution at all. But you can see that the configuration of these apps and dashboards are 99% of the way there. All you need to do is add that additional data that is specific to your agency's needs and location to really expound upon the benefits of the solution. So here we have an incident status dashboard. This is made particularly for decision makers to kind of keep track of real-time data changes and situations with how many road closures do we have, the MRPs deployed, the shelters that are available and open, how many people are in those shelters. You can see that within this map, the weather data is currently loaded within it. That comes already configured. And you can see the hurricane out here in the Atlantic that is reflected in that red area, as well as some rain events. And you have a coalescing of the weather warnings here in the lower left. Additionally, we have a situational awareness viewer. This is useful in your emergency command center. It's or within your police or fire units themselves. It's just a website that they can go to and see what in a particular area, what special needs, schools, shelters, hospitals, road closures are affected by a particular incident. Also, we have a prepackaged public information website that is ready for you to deploy and link to on social media or through various radio or television means as a central location for the public to get information on evacuation routes, shelter locations, and other information. So it's just a centrally located place on one website that you can immediately give to the proper news entities for public information. Additionally, we have a hub site that comes with this solution. So what a hub site entails is essentially it's a data repository and website that kind of acts as a one-stop shop for other agencies that may be coming in to help with a certain incident. They will have a website that they can then take the data that you have prepared and ingest it into their own data sets or web maps So it just allows data sharing to happen seamlessly. And again, it's a central location that's easily accessible to multi-agency purposes. So I'm just going to click on this, and it's going to open up this hub site just to show you kind of the expanded options that it gives you. It automatically loads with a emergency map, which will be populated with not only this weather data here, but additional layers that you can load into the solution as well that we were talking about. We have the Find Open Shelters link as well, that you can share this hub with the public if you want, or other agencies to kind of more effectively communicate the shelter locations and the strain on the available resources that you may have at that time. As well as a newsroom link where you're automatically seeing what the latest news is from FEMA, the National Weather Service, and the Red Cross. Then these are additional options, additional solutions that you can deploy, but damage assessment tools are available. There's a solution for that. So say there's a flood and you need to effectively assess the damage to structures to allocate state and federal resources. You can deploy that solution, and then from this hub, you'll have a link to that solution so that your CERT volunteers or other involved entities can easily access that assessment tool. Additionally, debris removal is another solution that this links to. So cleanup after an event is often a heavy load on resources. So understanding where the debris is and when certain areas are taken care of to more effectively use our resources is important. And that's another solution just embedded within this data hub. So invaluable resource right away. Now, the next thing I'm going to do just to kind of wrap up this webinar is to show you the ArcGIS Pro project that comes with this emergency management operations solution. This automatically loads a ArcGIS Pro project with all of the data feature classes that are available to be used within the solution. It is up to you to kind of prioritize which of these data sets are most useful for your territory and your agency. But we see some of the local incident types that may occur. You can kind of categorize those, as well as incident paths. If we have a hurricane or tornado, we can track the path of that tornado, and therefore by tracking the path, we know what resources or facilities may be affected. Scrolling down a bit more, we have mission-ready packages, as well as hospitals. So if we know where our public work or medical and public health facilities are, having those point locations on the map allows us to then understand their proximity to a particular event and therefore understand if they are impacted or potentially impacted, especially with shelters. We want to know what shelters are available and out of harm's way. Long story short, there's a lot of data that's available to, these are kind of, for lack of a better term, slots that you can fill with data. And there's a lot of them that are already pre-configured for you. You just need to load that data in. So I keep saying, bringing in data resources from outside agencies, public and protected data sets, and also identifying data that may need to be created. But the nice thing is within the solution, we have a task selection, which ESRI has already allowed us to kind of have a step-by-step process on how to load your data. So we can, using your data We can update data sources. We can append data. So if you have data already, we can just load it in, as well as kind of taking a tour of these resources. So there's a lot of options within this tasks environment to kind of familiarize yourself or your GIS operator with how the solution can benefit your agency.